Welcome, everyone, to another podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. Today's podcast episode, we're actually going to give it a title. It's called Heartstrings and Highways with Patrick Mawn, who goes by his stage name Patrick Strums, as in strumming guitar. So, either way, yes. So, today on the show, we are joined by this rising voice in the indie folk rock scene. He's a Boston born, Charlotte based, he's genre blending singer songwriter guitarist whose music is as dynamic as it is heartfelt. With a signature strumming style and a voice that shifts effortlessly from whisper soft to soul shaking, Patrick delivers performances that are both intimate and electrifying. His original songs, rooted in indie, folk, rock, and ballad traditions, are rich with lyrical depth and emotional resonance, while his covers breathe new life into familiar favorites. Patrick's musical journey is gaining serious momentum. He's collaborated with acclaimed producers like Shannon McArthur, Dashboard Confessional, and Emmy winner Rob Tavaglione. And his debut album, Hub of Humanity, which was released in 2023, is making waves even after 2 years. His breakout single, and you should really listen to this one, I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore, is spinning everywhere in college radio stations, Alaska, New York, no matter where it is, the last 2 years, it's everywhere. And he has been a regular presence on Charlotte's live music scene, lining up venues like Evening Muse and Spirit Square, as well as the legendary Milestone Club, which hosts, listen to this, Milestone Club, which has hosted bands like REM and Nirvana. Patrick is poised for even greater heights. With new music on the horizon, I can't wait for that, and a growing fan base, he's not just playing songs, he's building a movement one heartfelt chord at a time. Welcome to the show, Patrick. I can't wait to speak with you today.
Hey, Chris, I can't wait to speak with you as well. I appreciate you having me and making the time. And I just want to, take a moment to honor. It's been great interacting with you up to this point. And I appreciate your thoroughness, your promptness, your attention to detail, and making sure that everything's good on my end. So I thank you for that and for supporting indie artists like myself. And I don't know that I'm as hype as you made me sound. I'm not quite everywhere, but I'm getting out there, and I appreciate the support. And again, thanks for having me.
You're welcome, Patrick. Wonderful songs, too. I love that song, I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore. We're going to discuss that, actually. So let's start at the beginning. What was the defining moment in Boston when you realized that music was your passion? Do you remember your first musical memory?
I have a lot of early memories, and those are like two separate questions, I guess. So growing up, music's always been a part of my life. As long as I can remember, I can't imagine life without music. I think it's the soundtrack to our lives. And when I was a kid, I just remember records. My dad coming into the bedroom, me and my little brother would be listening to the Four Seasons, Ray Charles, like Jethro Tull, a lot of classic rock. But it was a nice mix of like Motown stuff, like funk stuff from the time, rock and roll. And so my dad was, I remember him coming in and singing, and we'd all be just singing along to like the Four Seasons, like Sherry,
Yeah, yeah.
and like just
Love that.
having a lot of it. And my mom, she was like, she kind of taught me in their respective genres of like classical music and contemporary music. There was Mozart and the Beatles
Yeah.
and everyone else. Like those were kind of like the gold standards. And I remember, one of my earliest memories of the Beatles, their record, they had two greatest hits albums. They had the red one, which
Hmm.
was the early stuff up to 64. And then they had the second one, the blue one from like 65 to 69, I think. And there was it was Apple Records. So there was
Hmm.
an Apple on the record. And I remember it would spin and there'd be three crackles and then Love Me Do would come on.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear Love Me Do, I still expect that, like that crack, crack, crack. And then it would kind of fall in. So those are some of my earliest memories, very fond ones with music. And as far as the other part is like, when did I know or really feel like this is what I wanted to do? As long as I remember, in a lot of ways. Like I remember watching rock videos, and back in the 80s, you had like the hair bands like Poison and Motley Crue and Rat. And I'm showing my age, but I remember I wanted to be a rock star, and I made my own like little earring out of paper. These earrings, like they were like diamonds and whatever that they were rocking back in the day, and I put on like a vest and I put on like paint on my face and stuff and tried to emulate those guys. So I always remember just wanting to kind of want to be a rock star. But I think the big pivotal thing for me when I really knew this is what I wanted to do was when the movie La Bamba came out
Hmm.
and the soundtrack that Los Lobos did. When I heard that, I was like, that's what I want to do. And for that Christmas, Santa got me my first guitar and the La Bamba soundtrack, and I just
That's one of
played
Lou
that out.
Diamond Phillips, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just of course, that tragic story,
Yeah,
which the day the music died,
yeah.
American Pie, about that, and the loss of those great
Hmm.
artists, and Richie Valens included. He was only like 21 or something, but yeah, I knew around then that I wanted to be a musician. And the sad part is, Chris, is that only until the last 4 or 5 years did I really start taking it seriously. It was always something I kind of dabbled in, but I never did anything with it for years. And that's kind of, it's sad that I let my real calling, my real passion slip and didn't give it, the due that I should have my whole life, but I'm making up for lost time now. And, no time like the present, right?
Yeah, and I remember La Bamba with Lou Diamond Phillips. Were you one of them that used to buy the White Album and listen to every song as well by the
The
Beatles?
Beatles White Album. Oh yeah. I mean, I've listened to, and that's kind of a lost thing too, back in the day when you would just listen to albums. Like I remember, in high school, just being in like smoky, hazy rooms with, lava lamps and
Hmm.
lots of posters on the wall and psychedelic stuff, listening to Dark Side of the Moon,
Hmm.
Led Zeppelin, The Cure, Smashing Pumpkins, and whoever, like, a lot of like alt rock was coming out when I was a teen. But just, I remember back in the day, you'd listen to records and CDs and you just kind of listen to the whole thing. And, albums aren't really, they're kind of shunned nowadays. But I think the younger generations are getting back into that stuff and wanting vinyl. Like vinyl's made a big comeback, and that's like the prime source if you are going to have a physical copy of your music, which I haven't really endeavored into yet. I've looked into it, but yeah, I remember listening to a lot of albums and being really influenced by some of the albums that really influenced me that were just kind of like, wow, I've never heard anything like that in different genres were The Who, Tommy, like that rock opera that just blew me away listening to that. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. There was a lot of metal, but the opening strains of Welcome to the Jungle, like, what the hell is this? And then for hip hop, Wu-Tang Clan, when they came out with 36 Chambers, it was, those are just some of the albums that were just like, I mean, I can name scores of artists and albums that I love, but as far as things that I just never really heard, and like let me dig into this and really just see what's going on here. And that's what I love about music, especially now. There's so much stuff and there's like subgenres of, you just get lost in these rabbit holes of all kinds of music, and that's one thing that I do like doing.
Did you like Foreigner or Supertramp or Led Zeppelin?
Yeah, I mean, those are all ones that I remember. Foreigner, when I was a kid, I remember that song when I was real little. I want to know what love is, like
Yeah, I love
just
that
a
song.
beautiful. Yeah, that's one of the best love songs I think ever written. It's just really cool for a pop love song. Supertramp, yeah, there was a song. There was a song that they had that me and my brother used to spoof. Oh, it's a right, you bloody well right,
Yeah,
you've got a bloody right. Just and we used to do it goes right, and then they go quite right.
yeah.
So me and my brother used to like
My
we used
brother
to
loved
goof off.
Supertramp. He used to sing. He used to play uh, the Logical song all the time.
That's a fun one too. Yeah, they had a lot of fun stuff. And Led Zeppelin, I was really into Led Zeppelin. The Led Zeppelin 4 was Stairway to Heaven, of course. But I always like I thought 2 and 3 were kind of cooler in my book, but they just had a great catalog as well. And one of my favorites of theirs is All of My Love,
Hmm.
which is just a great cool song with synthesizers, great drums, and I didn't know that was about. I always thought it was a love song, but that's the cool thing about music when you hear what the stories are behind them, and it was about Jimmy Page's son passing away, I
Mm.
believe, his young child dying. So I didn't know that's what it was about. You know.
Just like Eric Clapton's "Tears in Heaven" is about the death of his son as well.
Yeah, and I remember
Hmm.
when that came out as well. His unplugged that kind of kicked off the unplugged acoustic era for a lot of things, and he's an example of how you get older and your taste changes because I remember, when I was young and into like more fast paced stuff, like, Layla was just a
Oh yeah.
hard rock song. And then he did the acoustic version. I was like, oh, this is weak. This is lame. Like this old man up here, playing this, like, he's just taking it's watered down. But now that I'm older, I appreciate that stuff more. And of course it's great. But it's just funny how you kind of slow down. I mean, I still like to rock out, don't get me wrong, but my taste has definitely changed, and I like a lot more chill music these days too.
Yeah. How has being based in Charlotte influenced your sound and songwriting? Did it at all?
Not in any ways except for life experience, I guess. I left Boston. I came here. I've been here like half my life, and I'm leaving soon. I'm moving out west to Phoenix, Arizona, which
Mhm.
I would have already been there if I didn't have a bunch of life curveballs in the last year. But I was young, and I just knew I kind of set out on a vision quest when I was in my early
Oh,
20s. I was a punk, I was a
wow.
partier. I didn't really take life seriously. I was kind of one of those wayward lost souls, and I kind of left to find my way. And it took me a while, but I found my path in Charlotte, and this is where I've grown up. Boston will always be my heart in a lot of ways, and especially for sports teams. But
Hmm.
I love Boston. I love the culture and the ambiance of that city. It's always it'll always have a piece of me. But Charlotte also has a piece of me, and I've just met some of the best people here. And I think I matured and came into my own here, and it's also where I really got into music and getting that support and encouragement from people. A lot of that, going to open mics, and I started my own open mic years ago because
Nice.
yeah, I'd go to open mics and they were either like super intimidating and professional or like really kind of like blasé and apathetic. And I kind of wanted to have something in the middle. So I started my own, and it was a lot of fun. And it was just kind of like the premise was everyone's an equal, leave the egos at the door. Everyone gets the same amount of time and everyone gets the same attention and respect. So that's kind of where I got my start at my own open mic. And I didn't dominate it. I would just play one song at the beginning, but that encouraged me to branch out and start going to other places and play out and just get that support. So yeah, Charlotte, is just, other than coming here, I don't know that it influenced my music, but it definitely encouraged and supported it.
Yeah, your
That
strumming
makes
style, the guitar is very unique. It's very distinctive. How did it develop?
I'm self-taught, and it's kind of weird because I pick with one finger, and a lot of people, like, I remember even seeing like some really like talented musicians. I was at a festival, and there was a kind of a bigger act. The main performer was there, and I was playing, and he started watching me play, and I got a little self-conscious because he was kind of turning his head like this, and I thought he was like looking at me like I suck, and he just said, "Man," he goes, "I just can't believe you're doing all that with just one finger," because I didn't have a lot of coordination and I wasn't as good at picking back then. So I just kind of developed this thing with mostly just my finger and then my thumb. And I still kind of revert to that because it's comfortable. But yeah, it's like my friend compared it to like watching like a baseball pitcher that throws like submarine style or has like kind of like a weird, like I don't know. I don't want to say like like a carnival thing or
Mhm.
something, but just a like a trick motion or something like that. It's just something that I get a lot of comments on, and people say, "Wow, it's so unique," and people say that all the time. And that's I used to be a little more self conscious about it. Now it's like, no, that's just how I play, and it comes out well and it's comfortable. So and I've definitely worked on honing my craft to be better at picking and utilizing you know my hands more and just having more flexibility to do more on the guitar. But that's kind of when I strum, I just do my thing.
Yeah, I think watched a guitarist play Thunderstruck with one or two fingers. Would that be something that you could do by doing Thunderstruck on the guitar with one finger?
It's funny because I do. That's something that I kind of like warm up with on electric guitar sometimes because it's just it's just
Hmm.
it's an open chord and then like you hit the sixth fret or whatever. But yeah, I do that with. I basically, and to me, it's not that weird because it's like using a pick. When you're using a pick, you really, I mean,
Mm.
some guitarists kind of work in their fingers if they're really skilled, but you're using a pick. That's just one thing that you're using. And when I try to use a pick, I try to. I usually wind up just like saying screw this and just going back to my hand. I'm just comfortable with it, and for me, it's really my relationship with my guitar is very intimate. It's like being with a partner. It's like my lover. That's really how it is. It's like getting to know how to touch it and how to make it sing and hum. And it's just like it's such an intimate thing to me. It really like that relationship playing a guitar and to use a pick. I don't get that sense of touch and that feel. And I can use a pick, but just to and more, I just get into it and I fall in love. And like when I hear a great guitarist or see a great guitarist play,
Hmm.
it almost makes me cry because it moves me and it makes me jealous at the same time. Like I wish I could do that. But then, some over time I find that I can do some things that I see other people do. And that's the cool thing is I've gotten so much better as a guitar player and I practice a lot. I really work my ass off,
Hmm.
trying to be a better player, but it doesn't happen on my terms and my time. Something just clicks sometime, and all of a sudden I can just do something today that I couldn't do yesterday. And that's the cool thing about it is to continue to get better and better. When I started out playing at open mics and stuff, people probably all saw the potential, but start like really things took off me during the pandemic because I had a lot of time and I
Hmm.
focused on it. And then that's also when I got on social media and I started getting a lot of feedback and support from other artists and people out in the world that I was like, oh wow, I've got something here because I was getting like I was having like Grammy winning performers reach out to me like, hey, that sounds cool. And it was just me playing out at the park, making a crappy little home video. So it was really a confidence booster. But it just I worked really hard, and people that haven't seen me, like that saw me at an open mic like 5, 10 years ago, if they saw me now, they'd be like, wow. And it's just a result of hard work, just practice, practice, practice does get results in life. And, I'm a big believer in just trying to like go as far as I can and maximize my potential in life in general, but especially with music. And sometimes it's like just I get discouraged because it's like I can't do this thing. But I'm also really big on playing to your strengths, like my strumming style, and I'm a better strummer than a picker, and I work on it. I work on everything and try to do different things,
I like
but
that.
I also play to my strengths, which is why I call myself Patrick Strums because I know I can strum like a mother, and people always tell me like that's my calling card is like I'm a strummer. So I play to my strengths, and I try to work on my weaknesses at the same time. I think, and that's how I kind of try to roll in life in general. Is like, play to the strengths, accentuate the skills, and celebrate and acknowledge that, and then try to work on, the areas that need improvement.
I've spoken to some guitarists, and they say that, and some of them play the bass guitar, and they're amazing. I mentioned, so would you rather play it with a pick or your fingers? And they say the fingers. And I say, why not the pick? So what about you? So you're a picker, then? You're not a finger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I don't. I prefer always to use my hand. I don't play a ton of bass. I play a little bit, but I bass is even more fingers. Like a lot. It's more common to see a bass guitarist use their fingers. You see those guys just kind of because there's a lot of just you know reverberation, I guess, and there's a lot of like stuff that is tempered around the use of those fingers. Like some bass guitarists, like really just kind of the sounds they can get out of it by using their fingers. But I don't know enough about bass guitar to speak to that. But I do know that I see it's more common to see a bass guitarist use their fingers and not a pick than vice versa. It's pretty. There aren't like most guitarists are using picks. The majority.
Yeah, I really am inspired inspired by your song "I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore." Now, what inspired this debut single? Like, what was your mindset at the time? Now, everyone, this is a great song. Now, listen to these song lyrics. The song lyrics and melodies come from deep emotional trauma or feeling. Listen to this. It. So the song "When I Was Young and First Felt the Sun, Oh, and the Pouring Rain." I like those lyrics. So, can you tell us what inspired that?
Yeah, it's kind of reflecting on life. Life is a lot of perspective. And it's, when I was young, I first felt the sun and the pouring rain. It's like, you know, when we're young, when I was a kid, experiencing the joy and pain of life. And the song "I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore," the whole premise of that is, I don't want to be sad anymore. I choose happiness. And I wrote that song actually while my mother passing was dying of cancer when she
Mm,
was terminal. And so,
wow.
that song kind of arose out of that pain and sadness, trying to find a positive. And so it's just funny how life's just strange. It's kind of like the line from a Grateful Dead song, "Once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right." And how through some dark times, and I think most people can relate to this, definitely I, in my life, like through some dark times, some beauty and some joy and some good things come from that. And that
Yeah.
song is a testament to that, where it's just, it's a great, catchy, feel good pop song that, people are gonna be hearing more of, so it's
Yeah.
just,
It's a song out of deep emotional trauma, as you mentioned, the death of your mom. And the song explores themes of sadness, moving on, and personal growth. So, can you tell me, have you moved on? My mother passed away 30 some odd years ago, but it's not really. It's always with you.
yeah, definitely. And, and I don't know that it comes from a place of deep trauma. It's just, I think most lyrics to songs come from. Well, here's the thing: when I write songs in general, there's three elements usually. There's my real life experience, the way I wish my life or have dreamed or imagined my life would be, and then there's stuff that's straight fiction. And I kind of incorporate those three. But I think most, a lot of songs, like, they are from my life experience, and that is one that is very, like, if you listen to that whole song, it
Hmm.
really is about my life experience, going through these dark times and losing my way and
Mm.
wanting to be shown the light. And that's definitely reflective of that.
Yeah. Wow. That is quite a song. What was your mental health like during that time, and how is it now?
Mental health is something that I'm a big advocate for. I've worked in mental health. Before I went all in on the music, I was a mental health worker. I worked at
Mm.
treatment centers, and I was a job coach doing a program called Support Employment, and
Mm.
a life coach. And I put that on hold to focus on the music as well. But I'm really big on and a big advocate for mental health. And I think when you're going through life stuff, yeah, I've learned a lot of self care stuff and tools to use to support my mental health. And there's a lot of people I follow and listen to a lot of podcasts of some pretty bigger people, and I meditate and I really just try to, like, get my head right, because I mean this world is crazy. This human experience is knuckin' futz, and I try to really, I got to have my stuff together so I can go out into that world, and
Hmm.
I got to show up and be my highest and best self. And that's also, the message. What I want to stand for music is oh, I try to always circle back to hope and doing the right thing. Like, I think that life is a mixed bag, and I don't want to be all gloom and doom, and I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish. I believe in, you know, I think mental stability and mental health is being real.
Hmm.
It's just saying, hey, like, this is not good, and then, what can I do to change it? To me, that's mental health. It's like acknowledging what's happening. Maybe this isn't great. Like, you asked how my mental health was when I wrote that song. I was losing my mother. It was very difficult, but I had supports in my life,
Hmm.
and I had people I could lean on and talk to. And I had some of those tools to try to take care of myself, and that's really what I try to do in general. And I think the world today, the things that are going on in the world, and the climate out there in society, it's just, I know a lot of people having a really hard time right now, and I have a
Mm,
lot of friends in some uh, targeted groups right now
mm,
that are really just going through some stuff. And when I focus on the macro in life, I get overwhelmed and discouraged and angry. But so I
mm.
try to focus on the micro, like what can I do to better the world around me, and what can I do with my immediate surroundings and the people and things that I encounter. And when I focus on that, I see the good and I see hope, and I can give and get that, if that makes sense.
It does. It does, Patrick. When you wrote "I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore," like, can you tell me, when you write, do you start with lyrics, melody, or something else entirely?
That's a good question, and it's been an evolution. When I first started writing, I didn't write as often, and when I did, it was usually just kind of a basic melody, basic chords, and then the lyrics were the focus. So that was I'd usually just start with a melody, like some basic chords, and then write lyrics, or have some lyrics, but there's usually music that would just kind of go off in my head, and then I start focusing on the lyrics more. But as I've become a better guitar player and really hone my craft as a player, I can do a lot more on the guitar. So I'll find myself picking up a guitar, and then I just start working on something. So then I have, like, long story short, right now I probably have enough demos and sketches and ideas to last me like 3 years to focus on, because
Wow.
I have so many songs and ideas. Like, I'll pick up a guitar to work on something that I start. Like, I'm basically at my peak, like
Hmm.
firing on all cylinders creatively right now. I'm really just starting to hone my craft and learn the skills
Hmm.
of being a songwriter, of crafting a song, and just really getting good at it. And it's exciting. And so, yeah, like I used to, maybe write a couple of songs, a handful of songs a year. And up until a few years ago, most of the songs, like I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore, that was one that I wrote, that was about 7, 8 years ago. But some of the songs, like the song River Narrow, I just finished recording, I wrote that like, last century, literally. Uh, so a lot of songs that were over different times in my life. And now I'm just writing all this new stuff. And I'm at a point where, like, if someone said, would you trade everything you've written up until this point for everything that I'm currently have been working on the last year and going forward, I would take the latter, because I really believe the best is yet to come, because I'm really just starting to get good at this stuff. Because the thing I hang my hat on, Chris, is I know I write great songs. I know I have a gift for that. And I know they're going to be successful and reach a lot of people, whether that's me doing it or other
Hmm.
artists. And that's why I'm working in the music sync agency, and I'm really learning the nuances of that arena, and just really writing songs like that, some of them that are tailored for other people. Like, I have a song I'm working on right now called If the Shoe Fits, and it's written for like a 25-year-old girl to sing. It's kind of like a pop punk song that I can definitely see tailored for
Hmm.
a young female singer. And I have other songs, like, and I'm just learning how to do that, like write songs for other people and other artists. And I want to get to a point, Chris, where people say, oh, that's Patrick Mawn, he can write a song about anything for anyone. Like, that's really how I want to go. And I'm just challenging myself. I'm like, one of my friends, my friend Derek Hines, my main producer, he's got some really dope like hip hop beats and stuff. And I'm really challenging myself to write some hip hop lyrics, and because that's very challenging for me to do hip hop, because it's just a lot more words and a lot faster paced. And when I'm trying to write that kind of stuff, like a lot of hip hop artists freestyle, and it just kind of comes quickly. And it's hard to like catch that and write it down, like, which is a line from a Jizza song. Like, so it's I'm really just getting more and more into the craft, learning it and challenging myself and pushing those boundaries as a songwriter. So it's a whole new arena for me, where I'm just picking up a guitar and I'm learning how to use capos and playing different like
Mm.
power chords and things, really just learning the craft. I took some guitar lessons last year from a guy in Charlotte, Cap Nunn. He's an awesome guitar player, and he showed me some stuff, which I forgot a lot of it because I had some surgeries and had to
Mm.
put the guitar down for a while. And now I'm getting back at it. My hands have healed up, and I'm better than ever at playing, at singing, at writing. I'm really just kind of like hitting my stride, I think, in all three of those areas.
Is there a certain make a guitar like a Fender or a Gibson or Stratocaster or Sadowski that you play, or you just said if it sounds good, I'll use it, even if it says um, of no name on it?
Yeah, well, what you just said is really what it is. I've gone through a few different guitars over the years. Most of the stuff I play is acoustic. I have a Gibson electric guitar, it's really heavy, and people pick it up. They're like, "Wow!" But I like that girth. But now I'm wanting to like actually find something lighter, and I'm starting to play more electric and get into that more. And but for the acoustic guitars, I used to just play whatever I could. I had a Yamaha guitar that I spent $100 for on, and that was what I was playing for a while when I was just in my apartment in the back room, just playing by myself and learning how to play and getting better at it.
Mm.
Then I had an Ovation guitar for a while. They've got like the plastic flat round back, and those are great. And they're really they're very tight and compact. They're difficult to play, but it made me a much better player. When I after playing an Ovation, when I pick up a more standard guitar that's more spread out, it's got a wider neck. It's easier for me. And the Ovation, I really like that. I like the sound, and that was my thing. And then I got into Seagulls, Seagull guitar. I had several of those for a number of years. They're very
Mm.
similar to Taylor guitars, and I think it's like the same people involved with Taylor. I think Seagulls sound just as good as Taylor's, but they're just a lot less expensive. And it was a lot more affordable for me. Taylor is a great guitar, of course. Don't get me wrong, but I really like Seagulls, and the Seagull I had for a long time, I really liked it because it was unfinished, and you could that smell of the wood. And I had it for years, and I would just sometimes just put my face in it and just smell the wood. But I love the sound of that. And right now I have a D'Angelo guitar for my acoustic, and that's a new one to me. I kind of what you were saying or you asked. I was at a guitar store and I just picked it. It looked cool. I picked it up. It sounded cool, and I bought it. I traded my Seagull in for it. So that's what I'm rocking right now. So yeah, I've had a few different guitars over the years.
That's pretty awesome, Patrick. I like how you discussed that. It's actually really unique. I really appreciate that. How do you blend indie folk rock and ballads while maintaining your unique voice?
How do I maintain those things or blend those while maintaining a unique voice? To me, as an artist, my whole goal, my premise is about being authentic. And I think in the music industry now, there's this movement of like you want to have a brand.
Hmm.
Like I'm not a brand. I'm an artist. I'm not a content creator. I'm a
Yeah.
effing musician. And it's like there's all this stuff about you want to have stuff that's very familiar to people.
Hmm.
And that's to me that's the antithesis of art. Like art is spontaneity, it's creative, it's authentic expression. It's not like designed to appeal to certain people. When I start doing that, it's time for me to tap out. I think about like Peter Frampton. You remember him, and
Hmm.
Peter Frampton, no one really knew who he was, and then he came out with Frampton Comes Alive, which is to this day I think like the best selling live album ever, and he got huge. He had so many hits on that, and then he kind of like faded off after that. And I heard him do an interview, and he said, up until that point, when I wrote music, it was just for me and my enjoyment. Then when I got big, everything was about what do the people want from me? What
Hmm.
do they expect? And he lost his mojo, and he lost that creative flow because it wasn't authentic.
Mm.
And then I think about on the opposite end of that, if you remember Fiona Apple,
Yeah.
when she came up with her debut album, that song Tidal Wave. And I mean, she just blew everyone away, and she was like 19. And then her next album was like this totally avant garde. And the name of the album was like this poem. It was just crazy. And it was like a literal like FU to performing, like doing the opposite of like, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And I loved it. And it killed her career as far as like, being a mass acclaimed, mass appeal or whatever to the
Wow.
general public. But she stayed true to herself, and I respect that, and it was just like, to me, that's real art. And I think that, you know, real art isn't following or like the best artists are not people who conform and try to do what's being done. They're trying to push boundaries and do things differently, which is why you've had, like how like Nirvana came about after everyone got tired of like the scene that was out there, and they came out with something totally different and just changed the game. And that punk rock, which everyone got tired of the arena rock and the prog rock in the 70s, and this expansive, it just got
Mm-hmm.
more and more, just this big machine. And then you had punk rock, just back to basics, was like, an attitude and three chords. So, things come full circle. And I believe for me, I have elements of all those things, but I'm trying to be authentic, and I'm trying to write music that I feel comfortable with. And I'm not worried about the results, and I'm not paying any attention to people that are telling me I don't want to be labeled like, people like I get labeled as a singer songwriter, and there's a certain image that people get in their head when you hear singer songwriter. And that doesn't really fully explain who I am. Like my stuff is more kind of alt rock, indie stuff on acoustic, which not a lot of people are doing. So it's unique when I play live, but then my studio stuff sounds a little bit more like a band that you
Yeah.
hear, like especially my song River Now right now. It's definitely got those alt rock vibes, and when people hear it, you'll see. But yeah, like really, it's all about, for me, just being true to myself. And obviously, I think as an artist, you don't want to do things that are too alienating to fans or like too
Mm-hmm.
all over the place. So there is a little bit, of that. But I want to do all kinds of stuff. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I want to try some hip hop stuff. I want to do some more electric music.
Wow.
You know so there's a lot of things that I want to do, and it's just like I just go with how it feels. And especially, you know now that I'm doing more like trying to get into the music sync world and writing songs for other people, that is more tailored to that, where that's more kind of approved,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to be you know known as someone who can do things that cross genres. Whereas an artist, it's more like they want to put you in a box, which I think is, in life, like labels are for cans, man. Like I don't fit into a box. And I think if it's good music, it's going to find its audience.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it, because I've been told all these things about, who's your ideal fan. It's like, as a coach, when I do life coaching, when I was starting out, everyone's like, who's your target client?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, human beings. And I mean, there are some things you do want to think about when you're putting something out there. And as a musician, like, my fans are people that like my music. And I think, you're talking about the lyrics earlier and stuff. And, I try to write lyrics that I think are relatable. I think as a fan of music, when we listen to music, it's like, yeah, because I relate to that. The way I look at it, Chris, is music is meant to move people in body, mind, soul, in one or any of those ways. Like, there's some music that moves us emotionally. There's some stuff, that makes you think. And then there's stuff that just makes you want to shake your ass and just makes you want to move your body. So like, that's how I look at it. You like body, mind, soul. Music is designed to move people, and that's what I'm trying to do as an artist. I want my music to move people in whatever way that is. If it's the lyrics, if it's the beat and the tempo. But I always try to tell a story, whether it's a simple or a complex one, or a happy or a sad one. I'm trying to tell a story up there, and it has those elements I mentioned earlier.
So, how do you know when a song is truly finished? Like, I don't want to be sad anymore, or River Narrow. How do you know it's finished?
That's a good question, because you don't know. Well, they like, when it's recorded, when it's in the can, as they say, then it's finished. But in my experience, my songs have changed and evolved so much. Like, I don't want to be sad anymore. When I first wrote that, I heard it as more of like a calypso, kind of a Jamaican song. And I heard, more of like a Jamaican singer, like kettle drums. And I had this totally different arrangement. And then I started working with a friend, and one of the first people, a friend of mine, Greg Conrad, who, he scored for films and stuff. And he went to Berkeley. And
Mm.
he was like, hey, you want to try to record stuff? And it was the first time I ever did that. And I played him that song, and he said, I really like it. And then he was like, let's try it like this. And he put drums in it, and it kind of evolved. Excuse me. into a pop song, which was not my vision for it originally. But even now, as I'm trying to get it placed in the sync world, I can hear that song as like being in the Lion King, like a bunch of animals in the jungle singing those lyrics, and it's the hero's story. So that's an example of that. Another song, I have a song called Circles Mumbles Thoughts. And when I was out in Nashville getting ready to record with Shannon McArthur, the night before I was playing around with it and I was playing with BPMs. And my original version, the acoustic version, is very slow. And all of a sudden I started playing with it and just sped it up. And it became this hard driving rock song
Hmm.
that's like kind of similar to Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones. And so songs can change and evolve. And even some of the stuff I've recorded, I'm looking at re-recording, or like River Narrow, the song I just did. There's an acoustic version that I'll probably do as the B-side if I release it as a single. And it's a very slow song, just like Circles Mumbles Thoughts. But now, this version I have now, it's a rock song, and it hasn't sped up so much, but it's just got a totally different vibe.
Hmm.
That when I went into the studio to start recording it, I had these ideas and they evolve. It's really like I have a song called Ichabod, which is, kind of a sad sack love song. And it's got this kind of campy beat, like tongue in cheek vibe to it. But I'm like, I revisit it and I say, you know what? I think I want to re record that as a country song. Back to your question before, I'm not a country singer and I'm not like big. I like country music, like old school, but I mean, this song is like, I can see it as being like a grand old opry, one of those old, like,
Hmm.
grab your partner and kind of put your head on their shoulder, and it's a sad but loving song.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are evolutions to songs, and that's the cool thing about music in general. Like I can say it's finished, but then maybe someone else says, "Hey, I'm going to take this and tweak it or build on it." And that's the great thing about collaboration and music being something that is communal and is meant to be shared amongst us all. Like, how many songs have you heard where there's like two very different versions? Like, say the song Hallelujah, like Leonard Cohen wrote it
Yeah.
and what he did, and then what Jeff Buckley's done with it, and so many people have covered that song, and there's so many different versions,
Hmm.
and most of them are really good, and people put their stamp on it. So that's how I look at it. Like, when a song is done, it can always be, once it's recorded, then there's that, but it can also be chained. Like, I still listen to some of my stuff, like, oh, maybe I'll try to do something else with
Hmm.
that, or maybe somebody else will with some of my stuff, and that'll be really cool too.
Yeah, I think so. Um, Patrick, you've worked with some incredible producers. Can you share some experiences?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to work with just great people in the industry in general, like some really talented artists and producers. Like when I did my album with Shannon McArthur, he's produced for Dashboard Confessional.
Hmm.
I can't think of the lead singer from Counting Crows. He's worked with some really great people. And Rob T at Catalyst in Charlotte, he's won some local Emmys, and just really people that really know music, and and just really good at what they do. And also, these are people that become friends and mentors, and I can learn from them. But my main producer right now is I'm working with Derek Hines, who goes by DJ H for now, and he's been a friend of mine for years, and I'm kind of like his muse. I give him these ideas, and he knows me. We both love music. We're both students of music. We study it, and we're both very methodical. And the stuff that we create is just awesome. Like, Derek he's so talented, and he's got such a wide range of skills in the music industry, and he's been in the industry for a long time. And he's one of those people that, like, I want to blow up so that people will get more notice to him. And like, that's kind of one of my goals. I want my stuff to really take off, so these
Hmm.
people that I've worked with and collaborated with, they can get the due notice and attention that they deserve. I think, like, that's what I want. Even like talking to you right now, like, you're doing some great stuff, and I want to see you get yours and be rewarded for that. Like, my motto is nobody wins unless everybody wins.
I
It's not
appreciate
about
that.
me. Yeah, like, I mean, whatever I work with personally or professionally, it's a team thing. It's not, I can't be out for myself. I'm all about mutuality and reciprocation. And like, I know I write great songs. Like, I think I'm the golden goose laying golden eggs, but I need other great people to polish it off. When I crap out the golden egg. I need people to help me polish it and make it beautiful. And that's what working with great producers, great musicians, like I need people better than me to really just make this stuff
Hmm.
thrive. Like I know I create great stuff, but it's not going to get where I want it to be. And what I look at is, I'm serving the song. So when I'm working on a song with other people, I don't care whose idea it is. I just want the best results for anything that comes out of that song. I don't care if it's my idea, the producer, another musician, whatever. Like we're all, when I'm working on a song with other people, producers, other musicians, whatever, we're there to serve the song. And I will stand my ground when I believe in something and I'm like, no, this has to stay. This is what I want. And then I will also back off or defer to someone else. And that's what I love. It's like, you know, I think it takes humility and open mindedness to really achieve success in a lot of areas of life. There's that old saying, like a wise man surrounds himself with wiser counsel.
Hmm.
I want to be around people that, you know, push me and make me think and challenge. And I think when we're challenged in life and as a musician or life in general, when I'm challenged, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to make me like maybe change my mind and say, yeah, let's try it that way, or be more resolute and no, we're going to do it my way. So
Hmm.
either way, if I'm open minded and willing to that, to not just be like, my way or the highway, then the results are going to be the best. That's how I look at it, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Patrick, what surprised you most about recording Hub of Humanity, and what does it mean to you personally?
How about humanity? What surprised me the most was, uh, well, it's funny because when I went out to Nashville to record it with Shannon, I I wanted the whole Nashville experience, and I thought I was gonna be out and about. And when I went out there, you know, Shannon has a home studio, and it was like we were just in the studio, and I was like in the studio all day, got some dinner, went to my hotel room, worked on what we were doing the next day because it was boom, boom, boom. We did a song a day over 5 days, and it was very fast paced. So that was, it was quite an experience, but it was very just focused on the music, and I think one of the biggest surprises was what I mentioned earlier, the Circles Mumbles Thoughts song, the way that evolved. And then my song, A Ghost Story, AKA Ghost Song, that Shannon put, I can't think of I'm terrible. I can't think of the name of the instrument right now. It's, you blow into it and it sounds like a keyboard. I know the name of it, but it's not coming to me right now. But he just put some twists on it that made it like really cool when it was time to start playing around with the sounds on it. But what the album means to me personally, it was definitely, it was, I can say I did an album, and I did an album with a great producer, just like doing my single. It's like I made that, like that's me, that's me, and it's so cool to listen to some great stuff, and I'm grateful and honored that I was able to get the support and assistance from other musicians. Like on my single, I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore. A local artist here, Jupiter May, she dropped this dope vocal. She's got a beautiful voice, a great voice. Shannon playing instruments. This guy Nate Barnes, the drummer, that was a studio drummer that threw down the drums. And it's just tight as hell on that album. And Derek, of course, my friend Derek on I Don't Want to Be Sad Anymore and River Narrow, the stuff I did now. He's doing percussions and bass and all kinds of stuff. So, it's really cool to be able to say I've recorded this stuff. So Hub of Humanity, it's it's like I can say I made an album, and it's a good feeling that I did that, and I set out to do something, and it fulfilled a dream, like from childhood.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's been a part of my set for a long time, and it will continue to be, but it's going to be a little bit different. Like what people hear a week from now on stage, 8 days from now on stage, is going to be different than I've ever played it before.
do you have a most unforgettable live performance that you've had so far?
Most forgettable live performance. Probably the first time I played at the Milestone in Charlotte. Like that's a place, it's a legendary spot. And like you mentioned, REM and Nirvana, a bunch of like big acts got their start there. So it was really, and that was my first time. And Wiley at the Milestone, the owner, I was trying to play on stage at local places, and people like, who the hell are you? Like, why would we have you?
Hmm.
And nobody knew me, and the Milestone was the first place to give me a shot, and to get my first shot at a place like that was really cool. So the first time I played it, to be doing like to see my name on a bill for the first time and on a flyer
Yeah.
with some other acts, was really cool. So that was probably but I've had other memorable experiences too. Like the first time I played in Boston, I played at a place called the Jungle in Somerville, Massachusetts, in my home state. When I went on my first tour, so to play and have some of my friends and family from up north come and see me, and some other really cool acts that were on the bill there, it was just that was pretty cool too. So yeah, I've had some memorable experiences, but I think like that first show at the Milestone was probably just like, wow, this is really cool.
Do you have any like pre-show rituals or routines before you go on? I mean, you can't just, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick, and then suddenly you're like picking up the car and going on. This is my first song. Like, do you have any pre-show rituals that like prepare yourself?
I do. Yeah. So for me, before I go on stage, I need to be isolated and I'm really big on being prepared, in life in general, especially as a performer. I'm an actor, and I've done theater as well. And when I'd be doing a play, before the show, people want to kind of talk and fraternize, and I can't. I lose my sharpness if I do that.
Hmm.
So I need to. And some people kind of think I'm a prick, or would think I'm a prick when I was doing plays, because I go off on my own, and then I would just make sure, and I want to be focused and in character, and it's the same thing as music. And there's one show, Chris, that I didn't do that, where I was just kind of hanging out with the other bands and talking. And when I got out there on stage, I was off. I wasn't where I needed to be. And that was a reminder why I do what I do. And if other people take that as standoffish or offended by it, like, I think to be great, you have to focus. It's like Daniel Day-Lewis is one of the best actors to ever live, and he's so in character, and he does so much to prepare for it. And he was doing an interview, and someone said, the interviewer said, you're like one of the best actors of your generation, if not the best. Why would you work so hard and do all this stuff? And he goes, because that's why I'm not good enough to not do that. I have to prepare and do that. And that's how I am. Like, I'm not good enough to just be sitting here, like talking to you like this and say, all right, now I got to go out and just knock it out of the ballpark on stage.
Hmm.
I have to be prepared. I have to be focused, because I'm not good enough to just go up there and wing it.
Hmm.
I have to have a game plan, and I have to be prepared, and then I have to execute. And then when things happen, then you improvise.
Hmm. Yeah, you're talking
Shout
about
out.
that. So after dealing with health issues and surgeries, like you mentioned last year, how does it feel to be back recording and performing?
It's so good. I had degenerative arthritis in both
Hmm.
my thumbs,
Mm.
and then I had a hernia. I
Oh,
had a torn meniscus in my knee.
oh,
So basically, I feel like someone took a bat to my body
oh,
this year. I had a surgery on my elbow as well. I can kind of see the
yeah,
scar there. I don't know if it shows, but I had a nerve irrigation on my elbow, and then the left thumb, and then that healed up, and then I did my other hand. So
wow,
basically, I was planning on moving to the desert like a year ago, and I had a tiny house lined up, and I was like,
oh,
I was
wow,
gonna just kind of get off the grid, and I had this cool little tiny house lined up, and I was just gonna be like, my plan was to just be kind of isolated out there in nature and
wow.
meditating and just writing tons of music.
Hmm.
And then all these health challenges came up, and I knew like the arthritis in my hands is only going to get worse, and it was affecting my playing. So I said, let's just bite the bullet and just kind of consider this year a wash, and just do all these surgeries and do them all at once while it's
Hmm.
covered by insurance and all this other stuff. And I've healed up quicker than I thought I would. And the cool thing is, Chris, is now I can play better than ever.
That's good.
Because I'm now seeing how limited I was by that. So it's just a good
Okay,
call. And
get going. Just kidding.
yeah, so I'm excited to be back, and like I said, I'm better than ever, and I just feel physically, mentally, spiritually, and as an artist, like I've just been working hard on my vocals and my playing and my
Mhm.
songwriting, and it feels great, and I can't wait to get back in front of a live audience next week. You know, I'm nervous and excited about that because you know it's just been a while, and I can't wait to go rock it out, and then just keep moving forward with all the stuff I'm doing.
I bet you
That's
jump.
what
I
feels
bet
good.
you're doing cartwheels inside you right now, thinking you can't wait to do it.
Yeah, you know, and it's I am, but I'm also, you know, part of the experience I've had in the last year and in the music game and in life in general as I get older is it humbles you and it makes me more calm and centered and relaxed. And I've learned to like not count my not count the eggs before they hatch. And because I've had so many things where like
Hmm.
I think things are set in stone in life and then it throws you a curveball, like what I just mentioned, that my life situation.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm humbled and I'm excited, but I'm also just more tempered, you know, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
I definitely I have that mojo going, but I feel more focused.
that's good. That's good. Now that
Yeah, I feel focused.
you had your surgeries and everything done. No,
So I'll
is
let you
River Narrow going to be a song that you're going to have on your set list, like in between your openers and closers?
Yeah, River Now has been in my set list for years, which is why, you know, and I have some fans that it's their favorite song, and they've only heard me do the slow acoustic version, so I can't wait for them to hear this, and they're gonna be like, "Wow," because it really is when you hear something that you've only heard one way, and then you hear it this way, and then the thing is, the now when I play it, like my next show is in Asheville, North Carolina, at the Burger Bar. I'm really excited about that. That's a week from tomorrow with a local band up there called Puppy and the Dogs, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to that because it's going to be my first time on stage in like 10 months. But when I play River Narrow, I'm going to be playing it the way I played it in the studio, which is different. Like the strumming and like some of the arrangement of it and the tempo and pacing of it is different. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like when you know a song is done, now it's got some different things to it.
But I really appreciate this. Patrick Strums, Patrick Hahn, awesome. Okay, everyone, I'm going to end the stream. Wait right there, Patrick. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Chris.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for everyone watching as well.